Are you ready to unlock a limitless reservoir of ideas? Welcome to Bookish Mind, Season 09, Episode 03, where we dive into John C. Maxwell's How Successful People Think to explore the transformative power of harness creative thinking. Today, our mission, based on the material you shared, is really to unpack what creative thinking truly is. What are its characteristics? Why is it so valuable? And maybe most importantly, how can you, our listener, actually cultivate it in your own life? There's that great quote from Vince Lombardi, the coach: "The joy is in creating, not maintaining."
Mhm.
And that really feels like the heartbeat of what Maxwell's getting at here. Creativity isn't some special thing just for artists. It's pure gold in any field: problem solving, innovation, anything. And the best part, as your sources really stress, it's not something you're just born with. It's a skill, something anyone can actually develop.
Yeah, and that's such a crucial point right off the bat. A lot of people think, oh, creative thinking means I have to invent something totally new, out of nothing. But the material, Maxwell's work, it kind of debunks that. He argues that true creative thinking is often a composite. It's built from other thoughts, other ideas. I mean, think about it. Even the great artists, they built on what came before them. They blended things in new ways. So this deep dive isn't about magic. It's about making practical, accessible connections.
That's a really interesting distinction, the composite idea versus pure originality.
Hmm.
Okay, so if it's not always about being totally original, what does make someone a creative thinker? What are the hallmarks?
Well, Maxwell points to something fundamental: a real dedication to ideas. Creative people, they don't just wait for inspiration to strike. They actively look for ideas, they collect them, they value them. It's less about some innate talent and actually more about discipline. It's about using your imagination actively, almost like a muscle you need to work. If you really value ideas, you'll just naturally start having more of them.
That makes sense. Value them, find more of them. Okay, so after that dedication, what's next? How do they build on that?
They explore options. Creative thinkers, according to the source material, they love having lots of possibilities. They aren't satisfied with just the first answer. They really embrace having a multitude of options. It stimulates the imagination. Einstein famously said, imagination is more important than knowledge.
Right.
And the key there is that having options helps you find the best answer, not just the only one. It gives you freedom, flexibility, influence even.
Yeah, that freedom seems key. But, exploring options often means dealing with uncertainty,
Right.
which could make people uncomfortable. How do creative thinkers handle that ambiguity?
That's another big one. They actually embrace ambiguity. There's a great quote from H.L. Mencken.
Mhm.
It is the dull man who is always sure, and the sure man who is always dull. Creative people, they don't feel this urgent need to stamp out uncertainty right away. They actually find some delight in exploring those gaps, those inconsistencies. They use their imagination to fill in the blanks rather than running from them. It's a certain comfort level with the unknown.
Okay, so comfort with ambiguity.
Yeah.
And I guess that naturally leads to celebrating things that are a bit, different, a bit offbeat.
Exactly. Creativity often means going off the beaten path. It means thinking against the grain sometimes. Kingman Brewster, former president of Yale, he had a great line: "There's a correlation between the creative and the screwball, so we must suffer the screwball gladly."
Suffer the screwball gladly. I like that.
Yeah. It implies that if you want to foster creativity, you need to tolerate a bit of oddness, maybe even encourage it in yourself and in others.
Okay, tolerating oddness, valuing ideas, exploring options, embracing ambiguity. This feels like it's building towards something. Where does it really shine?
Right, it builds towards connecting the unconnected. That's where the magic really seems to happen. Linking ideas that seem totally unrelated on the surface. Graphic designer Tim Hansen put it well. He said, creativity is especially expressed in the ability to make connections, to turn things around and express them in a new way.
So how does that connection process actually work? Is there a framework?
Yeah, the material you shared lays out a really useful process. Think, collect, create, correct, connect. So you think about a problem or an idea, then you collect material related to it: info, examples, other people's thoughts. Then you use that material to create something new, maybe a combination or a twist. Then comes the correct stage, you refine it, fix the flaws, and finally you connect it all together into a cohesive, powerful thought or solution. It's a way to structure that connection making.
Think, collect, create, correct, connect. Got it. Now here's where it gets really interesting for me, maybe a bit surprising. Creative thinkers don't fear failure. Maxwell actually says creativity equals failure. That sounds counterintuitive. What's behind that?
It sounds stark, doesn't it? But it's about accepting a fundamental truth. Charles Frankel said, "Anxiety is the essential condition of intellectual and artistic creation." To be creative, you have to be willing to look stupid sometimes. You have to be willing to go out on a limb, even knowing that limb might break.
Mm.
A truly creative person understands that not every idea is going to pan out, but they don't let those failed attempts stop them. They keep searching. It's about resilience, really. Persistence.
Okay, resilience in the face of failure. That's a tough but powerful one.
Absolutely. So putting all these characteristics together, why does it actually matter for you, the listener? If we zoom out, what are the real benefits of nurturing this creative side?
Well, the first big one seems to be that creative thinking just adds value to everything you do. It's like having this limitless reservoir of ideas. The material distinguishes between invention, like totally new ground, and innovation, which is more about doing old things in new ways.
Right.
But either way, it's about seeing the world through fresh enough eyes that new solutions just appear. And that always adds value.
And it's fascinating how creativity actually compounds on itself. The source material highlights this sort of paradox. Creative thinking is hard work, but creative thinking compounds given enough time and focus.
Compounding. How so?
Well, unlike, say, money or physical resources, you can't actually use up creativity. Maya Angelou said it beautifully. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah. But for that compounding to happen, you need the right environment, right? A climate where new ways of thinking, questioning, perceiving, they're not just allowed, but actually encouraged.
That makes
Right.
sense. And another huge benefit, apparently, is that creativity just draws people to you and to your ideas. There's that saying, creativity is intelligence having fun. People like intelligence, and they definitely like fun.
True.
Think about Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, the ultimate Renaissance man, right? Painter, architect, sculptor, inventor, engineer. The list goes on. People were just drawn to him because his mind was so alive with diverse ideas. Cultivating your own creativity can make you more attractive, more engaging to others, too.
And building right on that, creative thinking helps you learn more. It's directly linked. Ernie Zielinski said, "Creativity is the joy of not knowing it all."
Interesting take.
Yeah, it's about realizing you don't have all the answers, but you do have the ability to generate more solutions. Creative people tend to see more solutions than problems. So if you're actively out there seeking new ideas, new connections, you are, by definition, learning and growing.
Okay, adds value, compounds, draws people, helps learning. What's the last big why? It challenges the status quo. That seems pretty fundamental. If you want to improve anything, your work, your life, the world, creativity is essential.
Exactly.
Because, as the source puts it, creativity and the status quo are basically incompatible. They just can't coexist peacefully for long.
Yeah.
Creativity and innovation always walk hand in hand. You need that creative spark to push boundaries and make things better.
Couldn't agree more. It's the engine of progress.
Okay, so we're convinced it's incredibly valuable. But the big question remains, how do you actually find that joy, that creative spark within yourself? What are the practical steps based on Maxwell's work?
Right, the how-to. Well, the first step, and maybe the most important, is to actively remove the creativity killers, both from your own thinking and from your environment. Stephen Leacock, the humorist, said he'd sooner have written Alice in Wonderland than the whole Encyclopedia Britannica. It shows that valuing imagination over just, dry facts is key.
So what are these killer phrases we need to watch out for?
Oh, there's a whole list in the material. Things like, "I'm not a creative person." That's a huge one.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Or "follow the rules, it's not practical, failure is final," and the classic, "we tried that before."
Oh, yeah, those really shut things down.
Totally. You can't let anyone, especially yourself, talk you out of exploring an idea just because it sounds a bit foolish at first. Don't stay stuck in the same old rut. That belief, "I'm not creative," that was my own biggest block for years, honestly.
Wow, okay. So clearing out those mental weeds is step one. Once that's done, how do you actually start generating ideas?
You start thinking creatively by asking the right questions. Sir Anthony Jay made a great point. The uncreative mind can spot wrong answers, but it takes a creative mind to spot wrong questions.
Spot wrong questions.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the wrong question can completely derail the creative process. But good probing questions, they stimulate new thoughts. Maxwell suggests questions like, why must it be done this way? What's the real root problem here? What if we did the complete opposite? Who else has a totally different perspective on this? Or even, what happens if we just don't do it at all?
Those are powerful questions. They really force you to rethink assumptions.
Exactly. And Tom Hirschfield warned, if you don't ask why this often enough, somebody will ask, why you? You got to challenge the process.
Okay, so asking why and why not is crucial. What about the environment? You mentioned that earlier. How much does our surrounding really impact creativity? Oh, it's huge. Immense. Charlie Brower said, "A new idea is delicate. It can be killed by a sneer or a yawn."
So true.
A negative environment is basically an idea graveyard. But a creative environment, that's like a greenhouse. Ideas sprout, they flourish. What does that look like? Well, first, it encourages psychological safety. People need to feel they have permission to try things, as David Hills put it. Trust is absolutely key because creativity involves risk, potential failure.
Right. Back to the failure point.
Exactly. It also embraces those screwball thinkers we talked about. Tom Peters' advice was blunt. Weed out the dullards, nurture the nuts. Think energetic, brainstorming, fun, idea-filled sessions.
Nurture the nuts. Okay.
And it focuses on innovation, combining existing things in new ways. Sam Weston, who created G.I. Joe, said creativity is often the logical combination of two or more existing elements that result in a new concept. It's about, give me a good idea and I'll give you a better idea.
Building on ideas, not just inventing from scratch.
Right, and it's willing to let people go outside the lines. So many limitations are just self-imposed. Challenge those boundaries. Charles Kettering said all human development happens outside the rules. And finally, a truly creative environment appreciates the power of a dream. It encourages that blank sheet thinking. Think Martin Luther King Jr. saying, "I have a dream," not, "I have a detailed strategic plan."
Huh. Good point. Dreams have power.
They really do. James Allen called dreamers the saviors of the world. Dreams expand possibility.
That sounds like an amazing environment to be part of. But what if your current workplace or situation isn't quite that greenhouse yet?
Yeah.
What else can you do personally?
That's a great question. A really powerful tactic is to consciously spend time with other creative people. Creativity is absolutely contagious.
Contagious. How so?
Well, think about a really good brainstorming session. If you've been in one, one person tosses out an idea, someone else grabs it, adds a twist.
Yeah, build momentum.
Exactly. Someone else takes it in a totally new direction. Suddenly, the idea is way beyond where it started. That interplay is electric. When you regularly hang out with creative folks, you just leave feeling energized, buzzing with ideas. You start seeing things differently. It's simple. You tend to think like the people you spend a lot of time with.
Makes total sense. Surround yourself with the energy you want. Okay, so we've got removing killers, asking questions, nurturing the environment, spending time with creative people. What's the final piece of advice from Maxwell for breaking through?
It's about repeatedly getting out of your box, your personal box. Katharine Hepburn had a great quote. "If you obey all the rules, you will miss all the fun."
Love Katharine Hepburn.
Right. And while you don't need to break every rule, you certainly shouldn't let your own self-imposed limitations fence you in. Creative thinkers know they have to keep breaking out of that box built by their own history, their habits, their comfort zones, if they want real breakthroughs.
So how do you actually do that? How do you break out?
The most effective way, according to the source, is to expose yourself to genuinely new paradigms, different ways of thinking and living. Suggestions include travel to new places, really explore other cultures, other traditions, learn how people very different from you see the world, and read widely. Read subjects way outside your normal field or comfort zone. As Maxwell puts it, if you want to break out of your own box, sometimes the best way is to get into somebody else's box for a while.
Get into somebody else's box. I like that framing. Okay, so there we have it. Looking back at the material you shared, it's clear creative thinking isn't some mystical gift for a chosen few. It's absolutely a skill, something you can cultivate and harness. We've talked about what defines a creative thinker, valuing ideas, exploring options, embracing ambiguity, connecting the unconnected, even embracing failure. We've seen the incredible benefits adding value everywhere, compounding over time, drawing people in, boosting learning, and challenging the status quo. And we've got those practical steps. Remove the creativity killers. Ask better questions. Build or find a supportive environment. Surround yourself with creative minds. And constantly, deliberately get out of your comfort zone.
Which really brings us to the thinking question from the source material for you, the listener, something to chew on. Are you actively working to break out of your box of limitations right now? Are you consciously exploring new ideas and options so you can experience those creative breakthroughs? Think about your daily choices, what you read, who you talk to, the questions you ask yourself. Are they reinforcing the same old patterns, or are they genuinely opening new creative doors for you?
That's the challenge. The joy of creating that Lombardi talked about, it really is available to you. Start exploring.